So I'm going to talk a little bit today about sort of philosophizing and about confidence in your speech and just generally about good conversation. But first, I think I'm going to cut to a little sort of vlog of my morning so far because it's been a nice day, and I'm going to make the dog leave because he's digging up the garden behind me. My outfit is giving very much like cowboy chic today. I'm hoping that the angle that we're at is okay. I had to tie my hair up because it was so greasy because it's sunny, and therefore I'm wearing copious amounts of SPF 50, which means that I am very oily and feel disgusting because of the amount of sunscreen that I have on. So ponytail it is for today. I would also like to very quickly point out before I start talking that if you see my shoes, I am wearing my dad's shoes because they were by the back door, so it was easy. So I do look like a clown because I am a size 4 and these are a size 10. So if you see those, please ignore that fact. But I don't want to have my feet out because there's bugs literally everywhere, and I've already been bitten by probably 50 mosquitoes in the last hour. So the whole reason that I want to talk about this is because I was watching a David Foster Wallace interview the other day from the Charlie Rose show. If you don't know who Charlie Rose is, he's basically this host who had a show in the 90s and the 2000s, and he interviewed a lot of amazing authors, particularly in the 1990s. And David Foster Wallace is my latest watch of his interviews. I'll link a playlist in the description to the best of these interviews, but I was watching this David Foster Wallace interview because what else would I do with my time? And it really struck me just how sort of insecure he was. And that sounds so horrible, like I don't know this man. Obviously he very tragically ended his own life, and it sort of just made it even sadder to me watching his interview because he just seemed so sort of worried about every single thing he said. And I'm going to insert some clips when I'm sort of referencing things, but he would essentially say something and then say, God, I sounded so pretentious when I said that, or oh God, like you don't want to hear me talk about this. Or he kept asking Charlie, like, you're going to cut this out, right?
I didn't like that very much just because I wanted people to read the book. I'm sorry that I'm essentially stuttering.
No, you're not. You're doing just fine. I'm going to go down 3, David.
A lot of this is going to get cut out, right?
Perhaps. But I'll make the decision as to what's cut out. Well,
it's funny.
about things other than your work, and we'll come back to
Unfortunately, most of the things that are leaving my mouth seem to be mean.
What?
Most of the things that are leaving my mouth seem to be mean.
Well, we'll get to that.
Okay.
Now, hear it. Why wouldn't...
Because this is a man who's very intelligent. Like, David Foster Wallace was and is a very respected author, and a lot of people would probably consider him a genius. His work is amazing. I haven't read a full book of his, full disclaimer, but I have read some of his essays, and I'm very familiar with him because oh my God, the bug, because I watch a lot of interviews of writers, and he's been on a lot of sort of panels that I've watched. And in my mind, I look at him and I think, wow, this is such an intelligent man. Like, he really knows what he's talking about. He's so well spoken. He's like seen so much of the world. Like, I really respect him. But when he's speaking, he's so sort of insecure. Sorry, I'm so easily distracted, and there is a butterfly literally right by my face. Can you see it? I almost wore a t-shirt the other day that said easily distracted. I should have, because it's so true. I literally have such bad attention span. Anyway, back on topic. It really disturbed me and it upset me seeing how sort of he grimaced after every single word he said, and I went into the comment section And a lot of people were saying the same thing, you know, like he is so clever and yet he doubts himself so much. Like that is so sad, and what a beautiful man. Like I wish he hadn't been so insecure in what he was saying because he's so intelligent. And it is so clear looking back on these interviews how bad his sort of imposter syndrome was, which is just crazy and really just makes me feel a little bit bad, to be honest, like in a really like morbid way, because if you are watching like an artist who's so talented or a writer who you just think is incredible have such bad imposter syndrome and like doubt themselves when they're talking, it makes me feel a little bit better about the fact that I'm always doubting myself when I'm talking. I'm like, well, maybe in 50 years someone's going to look back at my videos and be like, God, she didn't know how smart she was. I'm not comparing myself to David Foster Wallace, like that is crazy. No, I'm not, don't worry. So after watching this interview, I was really thinking, it was like 2 a.m. and I still hadn't written my page in my journal for the day, which I have been doing every single day for the last like month. So I was like, well, I need to do it, I can't break the streak. So I was up at 2:30 journaling and talking about this in my journal. I was really thinking, like, how can you get better at philosophizing and sort of speaking intellectually without doubting yourself and without feeling like a real imposter and without feeling so pretentious? And I have come to the conclusion that you just need to find people to have deep conversations with. Like, seriously, I think that when I'm by myself in my house for long periods of time, I get so stupid. I just can't communicate properly. Like, I'm socially awkward. I'm struggling to get my thoughts across. And then when I've had like a term at school, or after I've written an essay, or after I've hung out with my friends, I always feel so much more intelligent. And it's like, I know that intelligent isn't really measurable like that, but sometimes I just feel in my brain like I'm actually communicating really well right now. I used to get into real like conversations with my English teacher about this over the years. Like, different English teachers have always asked me about this, like, you're good at this subject and you like this subject, but you don't speak in the lessons. Why do you not speak? Like, why are you not sharing your opinions? Because you're writing the essays and you clearly have these opinions, but in class you're not saying them. What's going on? The truth is, I'm just so scared of someone being like, oh my god, like the pseudo-intellectualism, like, oh my god, she is just speaking to hear her own voice. Because we all know people like that. Like, we all know someone in one of our classes or one of our friends or someone we really don't like that annoys us, that you sort of hear them saying these massive words just for the sake of hearing themselves speak, and just so the teacher is like, wow, like that was such a good word. And trust me, it annoys me. It annoys me when someone speaks and they're just saying nothing. But I've discovered that is a me problem. It is not a them problem. They can say whatever they want to say. Like, if they want to try and sound clever, they can try and sound clever. The fact that I don't think they sound clever is just a tragic consequence of that fact. But I'm sure if I actually sat down and had a conversation with these people, we would manage to sort of find some common ground and have a conversation that was actually beneficial to both of us and was actually interesting and didn't just feel like we were both speaking just to hear ourselves speak. Because I hate conversations where you're talking to somebody and you will speak for 5 minutes and then they will speak for 5 minutes, and then it's just like, okay, well, now we've run out of things to say, because both of you are just sort of trying to list off ideas. You're not actually communicating back and forth with each other. And I'm so guilty. I never shut up. Like, I never stop talking. Me and my best friend go on walks like pretty much every Sunday, and we sometimes, I notice, I will talk for 45 minutes and she will talk for 15, and I'm just like, but I don't want to stop talking. Like, I would let her interrupt me if she wanted to, but sometimes she doesn't want to, and then if there's silence for 10 seconds, I'm like, well, now I have to fill this silence, so I just keep talking. Sometimes it takes me a full hour walk to actually feel like I've reached a good conclusion. Like, it'll be when we're getting back to my front door that I go, oh, I've just actually thought of the solution as something that I need to say now. So I think sometimes it is good to talk just to talk and talk to come to solutions. The same way that I was talking about journaling last time, and like journaling just to journal and journaling to sort of get your own thoughts out. I think sometimes you can talk out loud just for the sake of talking, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I mean, that's basically what I'm doing right now. This will probably get 20 views and people won't watch the whole thing, but I will have said it out loud and it will have therefore helped me process. And that to me is a good tool and will help me get better at speaking and will help me with philosophizing and with communicating my own ideas, which is something that is important to me because I'm going to university in September and I'm doing an English literature degree, and I'm very aware that there's going to be a lot of people who are very good at talking and very good at communicating their own ideas. Even at the sort of off holidays and the open days, I always felt like, oh my god, these people know so much and they're so smart and they're so well spoken, and I'm just not like that. Like, what's going on? Because when I'm in secondary school, like when I was in sixth form, I didn't feel like I was that worried about coming across as stupid a lot of the time. I sort of felt like I was quite confident in my ability in most of my classes. I did struggle a bit in my politics class because sometimes I felt like I had really strong opinions that just went against what everyone else was saying, but I am not confident enough to sort of be really out loud about it, which is quite funny because in my form group I would speak a lot. Like, I couldn't shut up, they could not get me to stop talking. And in my sort of letter that my form tutor gave me when I left school, she was like, "Dear Poppy, please never stop having such strong opinions. Your morals are so strong." And I read it out to my mum and she was like, "What are you saying in this form group that like her main takeaway for you is that you have really strong morals and that like you should keep sticking to your own thoughts and standing up for what you believe in?" I was like, I didn't actually know I was doing that. I was just kind of speaking, to be honest. Like, I was just kind of putting my opinion in whenever we were having a conversation. But apparently I was coming across quite strong. I've watched lately a lot of TikToks and a lot of YouTube videos about pseudo-intellectualism and people being very sort of opinionated about this idea of fake intellectualism and philosophizing just for the sake of speaking, and about these people who read classic literature particularly it's always Russian literature for some reason. Like, they're reading Dostoevsky and they are posting themselves on TikTok with sound bites from The Secret History, and they're walking around like Oxford and going into coffee shops and just sitting there and taking photos of themselves. And don't get me wrong, like, I eat that content up. I love it. I think it's so chic and I do find it very entertaining. But I understand it is annoying to a lot of people, especially people who are actually sort of academic and people who actually want to just sort of point a camera at themselves and talk without worrying about the aesthetics of it, as I'm sort of doing right now. But at the same time, I don't think there's anything wrong with it. I don't think there's anything wrong with the sort of dark academia thing, although I do think the term dark academia is so overused, and it really frustrates me when I hear old people using it. Oh my god, it stresses me out. I'm like, if you are over the age of 35, please stop saying dark academia. Like, I'm so sorry, I'm not trying to be ageist, but please stop. This is sort of triggered by the fact that my dad is a writer and he keeps saying to me, should I write a dark academia book? And I'm like, no, stop, just write a book. You don't have to write a book with a niche or a book with a core attached to it. Just write a book. So while I do understand the disdain for dark academia and for TikToks of people sitting in coffee shops and for people really loving the sound of their own voice, at the same time I do think that sometimes it's important to let people explore their own thoughts out loud and to let people have room to grow as philosophizers and to grow as speakers, because otherwise we're just going to end up with this sort of elitist thing where the only people who feel confident enough to speak are the people who grew up and went to private school, were in the debate society, and now are in the Oxford Union. Like, I don't think that the only people we should be listening to are the people who have been like trained to speak well and who are well spoken because they have well spoken parents and grew up in a big house and went to a nice school. We should let everyone sort of speak, and you can pick and choose who you want to listen to, but I think it's really important to let people explore their own voices, especially teenagers. Like, 18-year-olds, 17-year-olds are not meant to be smart. They're not meant to know what they're talking about, and that's okay. There's this sort of culture emerging, I feel like, around teenagers, around people my age particularly. I see it a lot, like in people's TikTok reposts of them saying like, some people just love the sound of their own voice and it's not that deep. Like, let's not even get into the curtains were just blue topic, because there are so many good video essays I could link you about the importance of analysis and about the importance of critical thinking, and I'm not going to get into that because I could make an hour-long video talking about literary analysis and why it's so important to be able to do. But this sort of it's not that deep phenomenon really upsets me. If someone is brave enough to talk to you and to share their opinions with you and to have a deep conversation with you and to share their views with you about something and you respond with, it's not that deep, you are so annoying and I hate you. I do understand that there's a very important balance to maintain between logic and empathy, and that we do need to sort of realise that sometimes if people are having problems, they don't want a solution and they don't want you to philosophise about it and they don't want you to be coming at it through an intellectual lens. They just want you to say, that sucks, I'm sorry that happened, and I hope that you're okay, do you need a hug? That's okay, and that is important, and it is really important to be emotionally intelligent as well as academically intelligent. However, if you are having difficult conversations, you need to be prepared to hear discussions that maybe you haven't considered yet. And just because someone is looking at something from a different lens to you and sort of looking more into it than you are, it doesn't mean that they are looking too deeply into it. for example, very topical of me, I've been talking a lot about Sabrina Carpenter's album cover lately, and I'm not going to get into that because I don't have anything to say that hasn't already been said, so I don't want to talk about it. If anyone wants to actually talk to me about it that I know, we can talk about it, because I've had a lot of conversations about it and I now feel like I'm pretty firm in my opinion. But when I was talking about it with, first of all, one of my best friends, we had a very long conversation about it on a train in public, which was probably a bad idea because there was fully just like random people surrounding us, and we were just talking about this, like, we were talking about like sex culture and kink and stuff. I was like, maybe we shouldn't be doing this in public, but it's fine. And then I talked about it with my parents, and I feel like they were very quick to say to me like, oh, I don't know if it's that deep. And I was instantly like, whoa, let's talk about why it is. Because a lot of the time, it's the micro and the macro. Oh my god, the dog is being so cute right now. Hello. The camera can't see you. A lot of the time, these little scenarios and these little day-to-day things and these little controversies can be great conversation starters for bigger topics. Even if you're saying like Sabrina Carpenter is just a random pop star, like don't give her this much credit, and don't say she's saying back feminism 50 years, but equally don't say that she's sort of like a savior of like kink culture and that she's really bringing back sexuality and female sexuality. Let's not do either of those things. I agree with that. But at the same time, we can use her as a jumping off point and talk about wider scenarios and sort of deeper situations as a consequence of the situation that's going on with her album cover right now. If you don't know what's going on with her album cover, I can link a TikTok that I really like on the topic in the description. So anyway, I've talked a lot about what the sort of problem is. I think that, first of all, that people are saying that things aren't deep when they are, that people aren't willing to listen to others and have conversations, that people are too scared to speak, that people are worried about coming across as pseudo-intellectual. I do have some solutions. My first solution is listen to other people speak. Not your friends or your family, although if you have some really smart friends and family members, then this can also be helpful. But go onto YouTube, go search for your favourite writer or your favourite actor or just anybody, just a random lecturer from a university, and watch some lectures, watch some interviews, watch some speeches, sort of have a look at how they speak, how they communicate their ideas, how they put things across, and learn from it. You don't have to copy the way that they speak, but you can sort of take their mannerisms, or you can borrow the way that they structure their speeches, or you can just sort of learn new words, learn new phrases, become interested in a new topic. The second way is to read more books. You don't have to be reading non-fiction books, you don't have to be reading essays, you don't have to be reading philosophy. God, you do not have to be reading classic literature to get this done. Pick up any book, it doesn't matter what book it is, and just read. Just keep reading. It's going to help you communicate your ideas better because you're going to understand sentence structures more, you're going to know more words. Although to be fair, I do struggle a little bit because I read a lot, but then I will read a word and learn that word and its meaning in the written form, and then I say it out loud and everyone looks at me like I'm crazy because I've just mispronounced it so terribly. But still, my point stands. Like, I'm still using the word in the correct context, I just don't know how to say it. So maybe do a little combination of interviews and reading, because otherwise you're going to end up like me and you can't pronounce half the words that you know. And finally, my third solution, and in my opinion the most important solution, is conversations. Speak to people. Text one of your friends and say, do you want to go on a walk tomorrow? Go on a walk and just talk. Just keep talking. It doesn't matter. Talk about whatever. Talk about wherever your mind takes you. Maybe think of a topic beforehand and say, I really want to talk about this today, and just talk about it. It helps if it's a friend who's willing to talk back, because it's really hard to have these deep conversations if you're with someone who's just sort of like smiles and nods, because you can tell that they're not interested or they don't have anything to say, which is fine. Like, not everyone wants to have these conversations, but if you can find someone who does, great. If you can't, there's people online, there's communities online. Be like me, just start a YouTube channel and just start talking to a camera. I think that it's also just an important tool to sort of help you build your confidence. I have really bad stage fright. Like, I cannot give a speech. When we did the GCSE like English language exam and we had to give a speech in front of the class, I did get a distinction, I would like to point out, but I struggled so badly. My voice was wobbling, my voice like strained, and I couldn't speak. Like, I felt like I was losing my voice, and I was so stressed. My hands were literally shaking. I was on the verge of tears. It was so bad. I do get really bad like stage fright and anxiety, but when I'm having conversations one-on-one with people, I don't feel like that. And I feel like the more that I was sort of willing to speak out in class and to speak up in lessons, the more I became willing to then speak in front of large groups of people and to actually do speeches and to sort of do assemblies and whatever I needed to do. And I realised that earlier I started a point about sort of English lessons that I never finished, about how I never really spoke in English lessons because I was scared of sounding like I was trying too hard to come across as clever, which is true, like I was very scared of that. But I did become better, and I think at a certain point I was answering every single question and no one else had their hand up in my lessons for like a month, which was kind of rough, I can't lie, because I did feel like, oh my god, shut up, but also I had so much to say and I just couldn't stop. Like once I started talking in lessons, I could not stop. But it took me a long time. Like I was in the same school for 7 years. I knew the same people for 7 years, an all girls school. Like I wasn't really scared of being made fun of, because I found that like girls are much less willing to sort of make fun of you to your face for the way you speak than guys are. So it wasn't that, like I wasn't really scared of people saying something to me, but it was just sort of this inner monologue that was like, oh my god, you're trying way too hard, like just think it in your head. I would literally think the correct answer to a question in my head, and then when the teacher would be like, nobody knows it, this is the answer, I would be like, yes, I knew it in my head. I could have just said it out loud and then everyone would have known that I knew it. What is wrong with me? It took me until probably the last term of year 13, the last term of my last year of high school, for me to be able to actually speak in my lessons. Even in lessons with teachers I'd had for years, I'm like, I cannot speak to you. There's like 2 of my classes I still did not ever speak in. Like I answered maybe 1 question in the whole 2 years that I had that teacher, and that's because it just wasn't a very welcoming environment and I didn't want to speak, even though I knew the answers to what they were saying. And I would be really annoying because I would like turn to the person next to me and be like, this is the answer, and they'd be like, say it then. I'm like, well, no, but I know it though. And when I said that to my English teacher last year, she was like, why don't you ever answer questions in class? Like, the essays are good, so why are you not saying the opinions? I'm like, it's embarrassing. She got a bit annoyed at me. She was like, it's not embarrassing. I'm like, yes it is, please. But I need to get over that. I keep telling myself when I start university, like, it's fresh, I don't know any of the people, I don't know any of the lecturers, like, I can go in, I can just speak my opinion and it's fine, because none of these people know me, they don't have a preconception of me, and I can sound as pseudo-intellectual as I want to sound, and I don't have to worry about people being like, I've known you since you were 11 and that's not actually how you speak. And that's basically what this channel is. It's just practice for me to speak. It's just practice for me to get better at speaking and get better at communicating my thoughts. What I am realising very quickly is I jump around a lot. Again, like, I have my notes. I was a bit better in this video at actually following my notes and sort of covering all the points that I wanted to cover. But still, I did jump around a lot and I still did not finish all my thoughts. I think I literally need a script because I'm so bad at this. This is why I like back and forth conversations, because people can actually keep me on track. But anyway, I'm very excited to actually get to have some real conversations with people, because my friends end their exams tomorrow. I've been off for a week and a half, so I've literally just been walking around, like, laying around my room, listening to my Leonard Cohen CD and reading books. So they all finish their exams, which means that I get to speak to them. I'm going to the pub tomorrow, and then I'm going out with my friend on Friday. I don't know where we're going, but it means, yes, I get to just talk to people for 2 whole days, and then it's my prom on Monday. Oh, beautiful times, beautiful times. I love going out and I love speaking to my friends. I love seeing my friends, and I'm very excited to get to speak to someone who's not myself, and not to a camera. Oh my god, there's a wasp. Okay, I'm gonna end this before I actually get eaten alive by any more bugs. Okay, let's say bye, Charlotte. Okay, goodbye from me and Charlotte. Thank you for watching. I hope that you enjoyed and that you have some great conversations with people, and I mean, if you have anything you want to talk about with me, put it in the comment section. Wow, I feel like a real YouTuber, guys. Like, comment and subscribe. Okay, bye.